Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to their film theory reaction. This one is, who is the worst evil X in Scott Pilgrim? Oh god, okay, that's a series I haven't thought of in a long time. And again, is another one of those series that I've heard a lot about, never actually read it myself, or, seen the original movie. Again, seen a lot of clips. But yeah, I mean, I know... Didn't they make a brand new, anime adaptation of it not that long ago? Sometime last year, I think? I do know about the Evil X's thing. I can't remember a lot about them. The only one I actually remember was I think it was the last one, and he was the vegan. And because he was the vegan, he had, superpowers. But because Scott tricked him into drinking a latte with actual cow milk instead of, oat milk, he was arrested by, the vegan police or something like that. Oh, God. Again, so stupid. And also, Scott Pilgrim takes place in Canada. Yeah, in Toronto. Oh, God. It's one of those things. Again, even if I did know who all the X's were, I don't remember them now. Again, the only one I remember was the vegan one, and I think he was the worst just because of how manipulative I think he was. But yeah, we should probably get into this because I, can't, remember any of them. So yeah, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video will lead to my game theory reaction. And if you like this video or any other that I like, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a like and also subscribe to the channel. All those little things, help the algorithm. And I'm hoping to hit 5,000 subscribers, sometime this year. But, yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Which evil X in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is the evilest evil X? If we take a deep dive into their psychology and count up their crimes, who's really the big bad and who ends up as just chump change? Strap in, friends, as we get into this battle of the baddies.
Open the money. I forgot about that.
Hello Internet, welcome to Film Theory, the show that wants to know if you've seen a girl with hair like this. And welcome to the first episode of Romance Month. Yeah, in celebration of Valentine's Day, for the entire month of February, I thought it would be fun to cover topics related to the season of love. Are some of them admittedly a bit of a stretch to fit into that theme? Maybe, maybe not. You'll just have to subscribe to find out.
Oh god, oh no. Are they gonna... Is one of them going to be about Bill Cipher and Stanford? No, I hope not.
But first up, we're talking the cult classic Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. If you don't know, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is an adaptation of a graphic novel series all about a directionless 20-something named Scott Pilgrim as he fights for the affections of the cool new girl in town, Ramona Flowers. However, Ramona has a bit of a dark past.
Prepare to feel the wrath of the League of Evil X's.
Yeah, if Scott wants to date Ramona, he'll need to defeat her 7 evil ex-lovers in actual physical combat to the death. So I'm gonna be real with you, loyal theorists. This is some true selfish Lee content. I mean, we are not doing this one for the views, I'll tell you that much. Even if nobody watched it when it came out, this is straight up one of my favorite movies of all time. It combines all of the things I love. Movies, video games, rock music, and one of the best casts in a film I've ever seen. All before they were famous.
He's famous and he talked to me.
And to think, my friends actually had to drag high school Lee to see this movie because I was in my pretentious movie snob phase. I went in blind and was dead from laughter by the end of it. Had me leaving the theater like...
That's actually hilarious.
And now, more than a decade later, I really wanted to take another look at this movie.
Okay, pausing here, because I'm just thinking about it. The whole, group of evil X's, that does kind of... I mean, granted, I know, it's a comedy... visual novel and stuff like that. But actually thinking about it, the fact that, a bunch of her exes have banded together to, fight anybody else that wants to date her, that doesn't shine too good of a light on Ramona. Just from, granted, I'm armchair psychologist in it up here. But, I mean, that either, points to one of two things. Either A, that Ramona is inherently, attracted to people who have very unhealthy personalities, where, they can get very possessive to the point that when she, inevitably breaks up with them, they just can't let it go and will, and kind of, go about the whole thing is oh, if I can't have her, nobody can. and this has gone over so many times that they've actually, like, grouped together to, like, okay, if we can't have her, nobody can, you know, that sort of deal. Or it could alternatively point towards Ramona, like, having the ability or curse, I guess, however you want to put it, like, to basically twist otherwise good people into being evil. And then when she inevitably does that, she dumps them because she doesn't want to date somebody who's evil, even though she did it. I don't know. really stupid, but yeah, anyway.
Through the lens of a theorist. And of course, the theory here just jumped out and hit me right in the face. Like, if we had a league of evil X's all conveniently numbered, that would imply that some of them are worse than others, right? So, could we possibly find a definitive rank for how evil each of the evil X's are? A loyal theorist named Boone over on the Film Theorist subreddit actually made a post similar to this idea, and we actually reached out to him to see if he'd like to write for us. So if you ever have any ideas like this, pitch them over there. We're always on the lookout for talented minds. Anyway, that's what I wanted to tackle today. If we looked at what each of the evil X's actually do in this movie, who would be the evilest evil X, and who's actually not so bad?
He's just a really nice guy.
Strap in, loyal theorists, and prepare for battle. So, first order of business here, let's set some ground rules just so we're all clear.
Is that not clear? Is that not clear?
No, it's rather opaque.
Firstly, we're going to be focusing mostly on the film Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This franchise has a lot of different versions of the same story. The graphic novels, the video game, the anime, all of which do their own thing. So, to keep things simple, we're going to be leaving it up to the film and using those other sources just for additional color. Secondly, while we will be considering the personalities and motivations for each of the evil X's when putting together this order, the main thing we're going to be looking at to gauge their evilness are the crimes they commit and the punishments they'd suffer. Yeah, it turns out trying to quantify psychology is very difficult, and I'll stay in my lane, thank you very much. Finally, we're going to be using the laws as they apply in Toronto, Canada, since the story takes place there.
Not so long ago, in the mysterious land of Toronto, Canada.
And all of the laws have to be real laws, so sadly the vegan police have no jurisdiction here. So with all of that out of the way, who's up first? Who managed to find themselves as the least evil X? Well,
Number 7 and number 6, the Katayanagi twins.
Who the hell are the Katayanagi twins?
Oh. You don't know?
yeah, so admittedly, this comes down more to the fact that Ken and Kyle Katayanagi aren't really given too much to do in the movie, so their rap sheet is a bit smaller as a result. These two dated Ramona at the same time, though the Katayanagis weren't aware of that fact. Basically, she was cheating on both of them with the others, so, you know, fair that they might be a little upset about that.
Okay, so what I said before about, you know, the fact that she has a group of evil X's, I'm almost beginning to think, just from that little fact alone, I'm beginning to think that, you know, the fact that she has a group of evil X's kind of stalking her, maybe more on, maybe on her side more than anything else, given that she's really dating brothers? Really?
When the Katayanagis discovered the truth, they swore that they'd do everything together from now on so it wouldn't happen again. These two are much bigger characters in the graphic novel and anime, where they're arrogant and cunning and intelligent. But in the movie, yeah, they were more or less just henchmen for the League of Evil X's. I mean, they didn't even have lines. As such, from the film theory perspective, yeah, they're just kinda here, playing music. Funnily enough, because this is the cartoonishly over-the-top world of Scott Pilgrim, this battle of the bands would leave the Katayanagis in a little bit of hot water. But
wait,
not
really?
because of the battle itself, instead it's because of this right here.
They tore the roof off!
Yeah, during one of their musical attacks,
Property
they damaged
damage.
the roof of the Ninth Circle venue. In Canada, this would absolutely count as criminal mischief, the legal name for property damage, and since it caused more than $5,000 in damages, it would absolutely land them a 10-year prison sentence and a $5,000 fine. Likewise, the damage would put all of the guests here in danger, giving both of the Katayanagis a reckless endangerment charge, landing them another 5 years. So yeah, that's not
15 years
actually
in
all
prison,
that much,
okay.
but we also have to factor in the sentences they'd get just for being part of the League of Evil X's. Yeah, it turns out that tracking down Scott, attacking him, and conspiring to kill him wouldn't look so good in the eyes of the law. Just like most of the other X's in the League, Kyle and Ken would rack up charges for criminal harassment, that's the legal name for stalking, disorderly conduct, planning to commit a crime with others, assault with a deadly weapon, that's their sonic dragons, aggravated assault, conspiracy to commit murder, and attempted murder. The punishments for all of these are up on screen, we don't need to go through them individually. So, all in all, the Katayanagis are looking at 63 years in prison, plus 2 life sentences, and a $5,000 fine each. Again,
Yeah, well, I mean, at that point, basically your life is over. Though, also, the whole thing about life sentences, I'm not entirely sure. I think up here in Canada, life sentences are, like, done differently than in the U.S. I think where in the U.S., like, you technically, like, what is it? You serve them one after another, technically. In Canada, you serve them simultaneously. I don't know what the difference to that is. I think it's really just, you know, if you actually do get acquitted or something like that for a life sentence, you only get rid of the one life sentence as opposed to multiple or shortening the time. I don't know. It's very complicated.
Again, almost all of that coming from just being part of the League of Evil X's. Considering how much we don't know about these guys, they actually walk away looking pretty okay, unlike the next entry on our list.
Yeah, here
Number 5, Lucas Lee.
What's up? How's life? He seems nice.
Yep, it's Captain America himself, Lucas Lee. This is actually probably my favorite of the Evil X's, and not just because we share a name. He's just a great character. Lucas dated Ramona during their freshman year of high school, though Ramona doesn't exactly have kind words to say about him.
Just not his little brat. He just followed me around.
Yeah, this was a pretty one-sided relationship. Important to Lucas, not so much to Ramona. And it ended when Ramona cheated on Lucas with another of the Evil X's.
So, but really, I guess in this instance, it wasn't really cheated. It was, like, cheated from his perspective, I'm guessing.
Now, the film's Lucas Lee is very different from the graphic novel version of the character. Though they're both skaters turned actors, the film character is much more successful and very self-centered as a result.
Hi. Big fan.
Why wouldn't you be?
Fun fact, this is an actual interaction that happened with the film's director and another rock star. Just kind of a funny factoid for you there. And he's very obsessed with his image.
You really think you can goad me into doing a trick like that?
There are girls watching.
Interestingly, though, that's kind of about it. He's a jerk, yes, and he wants to kill Scott, which is bad, but mostly he seems to have moved on. Also gotta say, we stan an actor that properly credits his stunt doubles and treats them well.
What can I say? I'm nothing without my stunt team.
So, okay, he's kind of a jerk, but...
Oh, God. You know what? I really do love movies that kind of, like, break the fourth wall just a little bit for that. Though, granted, I know in Scott Pilgrim it's done, you know, very literally. But the other time I can think of it was on Spaceballs, you know, where they catch, you know, the hero's team, but then when they turn around, they're all completely different people. And it's like, you idiots! You've captured their stunt doubles! Oh, God, absolutely beautiful. I love jokes like that. So stupid.
But not the worst. What are the actual crimes he's guilty of here? Well, like the Katayanagis, he'd have all the same charges that all the members of the League would, minus assault with a deadly weapon. Yeah, while he does fight Scott, he never uses anything more than his body, so we can't charge him with anything. Additionally, Lucas has his entire stunt team attack and attempt to kill Scott, which would count as another case of attempted murder under the same laws that outlaw people from hiring hitmen. So that's another life sentence on top there. Starting this fight itself would be causing a disturbance and land him another 2 years and a $5,000 fine. And finally, you might have missed this, but check out this scene. This right here would have been another criminal offense unrelated to his attack of Scott, believe it or not. The building they're fighting in front of here is Casa Loma, a historical landmark in Toronto. So this right here would be classified as damages to a historical landmark and would land Lucas a $50,000 fine. So,
God, I haven't been to Casa Loma in years. Like, the last time I went, I was in... Wait, was it a school trip in, like, elementary or high school? I think it was elementary school. God. Man, I really want to go back now. I never saw that, like, supposedly special rock that's somewhere in the outer wall. Yeah, one day I'll try to find it.
Don't worry though, I'm sure he can pay it off since he is an A-lister bro. Anyway, all in all, this lands Lucas Lee 40 years in prison, 3 life sentences, and a $55,000 fine. Pretty gnarly, but who's next?
Roxy, you know this girl?
Oh boy, does she know me.
Number 4, Roxy Richter.
Here we have the half-ninja Roxy Richter, who dated Ramona in college when they were roommates.
How can you be half ninja? Like, is ninja some weird genetic thing in this universe? Or are they just talking about her never completing her ninja training?
Ramona claims that this was just a phase, which hurts Roxy's feelings.
You and her?
was just a phase.
Just a phase?
Yeah, not a great look. Roxy's frustration is genuinely understandable and made even worse because it's implied that Ramona just straight up ghosted her. Rough. I can see why there's some trauma left over here. Honestly, I debated putting Roxy at number 5 below Lucas since he is just a giant jerk. But when you lay out their crimes, Roxy actually comes out looking a lot worse, all because of this scene right here.
Okay, yeah, again, the more I'm hearing, the more I'm thinking that, you know, the central problem with, you know, all these exes, quite literally, is Ramona. She's the common factor here.
Punched me in the boob.
Roxy attacks Scott not once in the film, but twice, ambushing him after his fight with Lucas. Since she then attacks him again later at Club 4, that means that she would actually have 2 counts of aggravated assault and attempted murder. And she also fights Ramona during this scene, meaning she get another count of assault with a deadly weapon and aggravated assault. The fight in the crowded bar itself would also be causing a disturbance and reckless endangerment, and though it's not illegal to own a cool chain, belt, sword thing in Canada, it can get you another 10 years in prison for possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose, like, say, hurting or killing somebody. Throw in criminal mischief for the property damage she causes by throwing Ramona's hammer through the front wall of Club 4, plus all of the rest of the charges that the league gets, and Roxy ends up with an impressive 97 years in prison, 3 life sentences, and a $10,000 fine.
You know, it really is funny, and like every time they do one of these like videos like with the Joker and stuff like that, where they tally up all of the crimes and stuff like that. I mean, like it gets to a certain point where you just have to think of like, okay, can you just count the jail time as another life sentence? Because it's essentially just another life sentence when it starts getting long enough. Because again, 97 years in prison before you add on the life sentences. Like at that at that point, that's just another life sentence. Like at that point, legally, what's the difference?
Man, now we are getting into the bad stuff. So, who's next?
Todd's vegan. Being vegan just makes you better than most people.
Bingo.
Number 3, Todd Ingram.
And here we are with Superman himself, Todd Ingram, vegan extraordinaire. Yeah, being vegan in this universe gives you superpowers. It's dumb and fun, but I kind of love it. Todd dated Ramona in high school. He was actually the guy she cheated on Lucas Lee with, and they were the bad kids. There's just a whole lot more backstory there in the graphic novels involving Scott's big ex also dating Todd, and it just gets messy. Top line, Todd is just an awful, awful person. He's constantly cheating on all of his lovers, and he has a lot of deep-seated psychological issues. And on top of that, he isn't even very smart.
I don't know the meaning of the word.
Like, he sucks. And if you want evidence...
Okay, so I will point, again, Ramona did cheat with him, but at the same time, he also, unlike the other people, he literally just does seem as just, you know, sucking as a human being.
So that, Todd blew a hole in the freaking moon just to impress a girl twice. Honestly, I was kind of worried that this would throw a wrench into this whole theory. Like, this has to be super illegal, right? This would make Todd the absolute worst, right? Well, not as much as you might expect. According to the Outer Space Treaty signed by the US and the USSR, it's illegal to do anything with nukes in space. However, it says nothing about the use of conventional weapons in space. That's basically everything other than nukes, so we're gonna be counting the vegan powers as conventional. And what's more, that same treaty says that there's no nation that has any legal authority out in space, so this couldn't even really be a crime.
Yeah, I think something like that would very much have to apply on like a United Nations sort of a scale there. That would have something you'd have to get everybody to agree on to say, hey, we all agree this is bad, right?
Turns out Todd can basically use the air bud defense here. There ain't no rule saying you can't blow a hole in the moon, but yeah. I digress. If we count up the actual crimes we can charge Todd with, he ends up with all of the same crimes as all the other members of the league, including assault with a deadly weapon. Again, we're counting vegan powers as weapons here. Additionally, we're also charging him with 5 counts of criminal mischief since he broke 5 walls during his battle with Scott. And perhaps worst of all, he's getting another count of aggravated assault for punching knives so hard it knocked the highlights out of her hair.
He punched the highlights out of her hair.
And just another note here, knives is a minor at this point, so really, Todd is just an awful, awful guy. All in all, Todd ends up with 114 years in prison, 2 life sentences, and $25,000 in fines.
Again, at that point, why isn't that just classified as 3 life sentences? I mean, anybody who's actually old enough to be sentenced to go to prison, I think, like, if they're sentenced to at least, 100 years in jail, I think at that point it's just a life sentence, or should be just classified as one.
This one was a bit of a toss-up for Todd and Roxy, but I decided Todd was worse simply because he punched knives and also blew that hole in the moon. And I mean, come on, really, he is just a piece of work, while Roxy at least has focused her frustrations on just one person. Unlike our next Evil X.
Number 2, Gideon Graves.
Scott Pilgrim! Hey, buddy, welcome to the Chaos Theater.
Yeah, that's right. Now we're talking about the mastermind of the whole evil plot, Gideon Graves, also known as the music producer G-Man. Funnily enough, we don't know a ton about this character's backstory in the comics or the films. He also has a completely different backstory in the anime, but it's a long story and we're not going to get into that.
Of course,
Again,
you gotta
today
love
we're
adaptations.
only worried about the movie. As Ramona's most recent ex, they met and dated while she was living in New York, but he wasn't exactly a great partner.
I was crazy about him. He ignored me. I was more alone when we were together than I ever was on my own.
Yeah, Gideon was your classic controlling narcissist. He was more interested in having someone to control than he was in having a partner, and that
Okay, this is very much, on him. That's, yeah.
extends into all parts of his life. He signed Scott's band to his label as a means to control them and beat Scott, and doesn't really care that all of the other evil exes were defeated and killed.
Know how long it took to get all the Evil X's contact information so I could form this stupid league? Like 2 hours!
Yeah, he's more annoyed at
2 hours. Oh my god. Okay. Yeah. I see what kind of person he is.
that minor inconvenience and these people actually dying. What a stand-up guy. That thirst for control also extends into the actual crimes he commits, too. On top of the same crimes that all the other
Stalking,
exes would
yeah.
rack up, Gideon would also get additional aggravated assault and attempted murder charges for trying to kill Knives and Ramona during the climactic final battle. Additionally, he also gets charges for torture and kidnapping since he installed a mind control chip inside of Ramona's head.
No, I mean, he literally has a way of getting into my head. That is evil.
Which would get
Very
him an
much so,
additional
yes.
14 years and another life sentence, respectively. I also considered giving him a murder charge since he does kill Scott, but Scott has an extra life at that point and seems to reset the timeline. So, yeah, gonna let that one slide since it's not clear if it actually counts, and also it doesn't actually end up mattering. You'll see. All in all, Gideon Graves is an evil man and gets hit with 102 years in prison, 5 life sentences, and a $5,000 fine. And that's not even considering the potential lawsuit Scott could bring against him for masterminding this whole League of Evil X's plot. But wait, if the mastermind Gideon isn't the worst, then who is?
Oh god, yeah, I forgot there were 7 of these guys. And he's not even the worst? Oh god, how bad is the last one gonna be? Oh no!
Number 1, Matthew Patel.
My name is Matthew Patel, and I'm Ramona's first evil ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, I bet you didn't expect the very first Evil X to be the worst, did you? I gotta tell you guys, Matthew Patel here is a real piece of work.
Oh my god, he even has like the eyeliner and eyeshadow. Oh god, he is so goofy looking. Oh no.
He dated Ramona in middle school. Ramona basically used Matthew and his mystical powers to ward off jocks interested in her, and then left him soon thereafter.
After a week and a half, told him to hit the showers.
You'll pay for this. Flowers.
Yeah, these two dated for just a week and a half. Like, honestly, this is super messed up. Matthew Patel, buddy, you're still so obsessed with her that you joined a league dedicated to controlling her love life?
Okay, I've said with the other ones it was very much more like Ramona's fault on a couple of them. This is definitely like just on him. I mean, the fact like at a week and a half, couldn't even classify that as actually dating. Plus, it was in middle school, so what? That's like usually like middle school is like what, between like grade, like depending on the school, like 5 to 8 or something like that. So yeah, when is middle school classified as? Really, only 7 and 8? Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, I went to Catholic school, so elementary school went from kindergarten to grade 8, and then I went to high school. So I have no idea how middle school works.
My man, you need to get a hobby and also see a therapist because there's something seriously wrong with you.
Yeah,
this is
very much
obsession,
so.
not love. But while that's creepy, it's not necessarily a crime, unlike all of the other things we see Matthew do in this movie. Yeah, on top of all of the other charges every member of the League would get, Patel's got a laundry list of crimes. Like Lucas Lee, he'd be guilty of attempted murder by proxy since he
Very much
summons
so.
the demon hipster chicks to kill Scott. He'd get a criminal
Demon
mischief
hipster chicks?
charge for
Oh
the
my
property
God,
damage
really?
caused by bursting through the roof of the rocket building. And since he's the one who sent Scott the email threatening him with the League,
Didn't you get my email explaining the situation?
I skimmed it.
he'd be guilty of uttering threats, which would get him another 5 years in prison.
I skimmed it. Yeah, I mean, at that point, like, if you had no idea what was going on, just, put it in the spam folder.
And finally, unlike all of the other Evil X's, we actually see Matthew Patel kill people in a timeline that doesn't get reset. Yeah, when he attacks Scott, he actually accidentally kills all of the members of the band Crash and the Boys, netting him 3 charges of negligent homicide. So yeah, on top of just being a horrible, creepy guy that needs to move on, Matthew Patel is getting 60 years in prison plus 6 life sentences and a $10,000 fine. So wait, if that puts Matthew Patel as the worst of Ramona's Evil X's, why is there still so much of the video left? Who else can we talk about?
Ramona.
Scott Pilgrim.
Well, now you are being a total ass. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, I know this isn't exactly groundbreaking or shocking film or character analysis, but Scott starts this story as a not-so-great guy. He's an absolute loser, isn't over his ex, treats his friends poorly, is literally dating a minor,
Before you hear some dirty lies from someone else, yes, I'm dating a 17-year-old.
and cheats on both her and Ramona instead of manning up. Yeah, he breaks hearts with little regard for the people he's actually hurting.
That time you dumped Kim.
Okay, me and Kim are all good now, all right? I was thinking we should break up.
Yeah, though, I mean, admittedly, granted, the whole thing with that is, it's character development. He starts bad, but then gets better, whereas the other ones, they either were bad and stayed bad, or were good and got bad. Admittedly, all of the ones that became bad were because of Ramona. Okay.
Or whatever.
Really? Oh.
Scott sucks, and if he didn't go through all of the character growth and development in this story, he would have been just as bad, if not worse, than any of the other exes in this story. And
Really? I mean, granted, I'm not defending the guy. He would have sucked, but like, I don't think he would have been, committing murder and assault level suck.
Ramona even points this out in the movie.
Just another evil X waiting to happen.
Also worth pointing out that when Scott faces his evil counterpart, Nega Scott, who is supposed to be his evil opposite, they actually get on really well. In fact, Scott thinks
He's just a really nice guy. We actually have a lot in common.
But even without considering his character arc in this story, if we look at what Scott does in the film, he'd be in some legal hot water. Like,
Well, yeah,
for real,
he
he
does
should have
kill,
gone to the police
several of them,
immediately
yeah.
after being threatened, because a lot of the violence he commits here is completely Scott's fault. Even if we don't count the deaths of Matthew Patel and Roxy Richter, whom Scott fought in self-defense, Lucas Lee, who was killed by his own misadventure, or the Katayanagi twins who were crushed by their own dragon, that still leaves Scott directly responsible for the deaths of Todd and Gideon, both of whom he could have spared or avoided. And not only that,
I mean, yes, yeah, but at the same time, I think the world's a much better place without them in it.
but during his fight at the Chaos Theater, Scott kills 22 of Gideon's goons before fighting Gideon himself. Along with disorderly conduct and disturbing the peace for starting this fight, that would leave Scott with 16 years in prison, a $5,000 fine, and a mind-blowing 24 life sentences. And that, my friends, might just make him the worst Evil X. Or hell, maybe it's Ramona, since she manipulated Matthew, cheated on Lucas, dumped Todd, ghosted Roxy, and cheated on the Katayanagis at the same time with each other.
Dabbled in being.
Oof, that's rough, buddy. But
Yeah, I mean, as I said, there is a league of evil X's here, but I mean, they're all X's of the same person, so there's a common factor here going on.
hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
Oh god, again, I mean, maybe it's just because it's the beginning of the year and, ad rates all over YouTube are kind of suck, but like, I was not expecting a Scott Pilgrim theory. And granted, like, again, I haven't seen the full movie. Of course, I've seen clips, especially that one of Scott jumping out the window. But like, I had never seen the full movie. I've never read the books. Also, and again, as I said, I had completely forgotten that they had an anime adaptation. Oh god. Also, something I only just remembered is I think I was watching a video talking about fun facts or something, and one of them they talked about where like one of the jokes in the visual novel was actually ruined by it being colored in, because Scott asks, is that your like real hair color? And Ramona says, I don't know, because in the original book it was in black and white. They didn't make her hair blue until they colored it in. Oh god. Again, that's one of those series I actually have to check out, because like, again, it's one of those ones I've heard about for years. And of the bits I have seen, they look really good. Oh, God. But yeah, that's going to be it. So yeah, of course, as always, original video is linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video will lead to my game theory reaction. And yeah, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.